Welcome back, subscribers. This is Johnny Hopper, and just like my thumbnail says, the rabbit hole is much, much deeper than just the surface as far as the Red Bull guys didn't race the Monster Cup because it was sponsored by Monster Energy. All right, and I'm going to go over some top 5 reasons as to why. Musquin won it in 2017. Roczen almost won it in 2018. Both those guys are Red Bull guys. So just sit down, buckle up, relax, and get ready for me to hit you square in the eye.
Pause right there.
This will be funny. Let's delete his chair.
Oh, jeez. Johnny, I'm going to kill you.
Oh, shit.
You better run.
A lot has changed over the last decade in motorcycle racing. It's gotten a lot of convoluted with politics and corporations. It's the same reason why we don't send the most elite team to the Motocross the Nations to represent America. The goal is not to win one-off race. The Red Bull Straight Rhythm, the Monster Cup, the MX of Nations, it's to win the AMA Supercross title. That's where all the attention is. That's where all the sponsorship money goes. That's where all the contracts are built, is based on your Supercross performance, essentially. And it's about winning a marathon, not a sprint. And these guys don't want to get taken out with like a sprained ankle on mile 1 when they've got 26 other miles to go. Take it for what it's worth. I want you guys to join the conversation in the comments below. But guys like myself, the privateer, they need to build a following. So they're absolutely going to race one of these one-off races to get more popularity. The more popularity, the more they can sell themselves, the more money they can attract to themselves so that they can ultimately make more money. Because if you're watching my videos, I'll probably go through it a little bit in this one, not to beat a dead horse to death, but I'm trying to get that point out there. As far as the purse money, just outright sucks. All the money's in sponsorship, endorsements, etc. So let's move on to the next one. And this one's all about injuries, all right? You don't get to the most elite level without gaining some bangers along the way. And anyone that says they're not scared of getting hurt, or they don't think of that in the back of their head as far as in an instant it could ruin their career, their season, they're outright lying to you. It's almost like the whole PEDs thing. Everybody's lying about it.
What? Where? I don't see anything.
Oh, well, I could have sworn I saw something. No matter.
Just nobody wants to tell the truth because it's going to cripple themselves as far as being able to promote themselves and make money. There's that. I remember hearing something about John Jones, who, if you guys follow UFC, you know exactly who I'm talking about, but he's a champ over there multiple times, but he's gotten caught for drugs. And the story goes he was hiding from WADA by crawling underneath the octagon after the fight and hanging out there for 5+ hours. So WADA just left because they needed to get a pee sample, and they tried to come back to the stadium and go, we know that guy had to have urinated underneath the octagon. We want to get that sample, but the MGM, they were like, no, you can't come in here and do that. It's already been cleaned up, etc. So, I don't know. Moving on. But just to have a most recent example, I mean, look at Dino. Amazing, talented rider, but lucky to get that Rockstar Energy Suzuki gig with Jason Anderson. And man, what had happened at the Monster Cup with him? Well, he crashed, hurt his shoulder, and he got really lucky that it didn't just ruin his season, because you're only as good as your last race in Supercross, which sucks. Especially as far as being a prospect for future contracts. And this guy has already put himself in sort of a hole, because now, during the time recovery months and preparing for Supercross, he's going to actually just be recovering an injured arm, his injured shoulder, which that sucks. It's going to put him a little bit behind the curveball. I don't think Dino is going to do as well in the first couple Supercross races just because he's not going to have as much seat time as the other riders. This is a really analogy, but riders are like a quarter of a kitten. You know, you just take a kitten that has 9 lives and you chop him into 4s, and then he has something like 2.25. Editor, do the math above my head. Like, what is 9 divided by 4? I guess I'm smarter than I thought I was. But thank you, Mr. Miyagi, for teaching me how to chop a kitten, you know, like Fruit Ninja. So basically, all I'm saying is some of the top guys, Marv, Roczen, these guys are running out of time to get that first championship belt under them because their age, their injuries. So they need to be thinking smart and not doing these one-off races. There's a plan behind it. When there's that much money behind you, there's a plan. So that was a good segue to my next one. It's about the money. Teams will just flat out say, no, you're not doing the Motocross of Nations. You're not doing these silly one-off races. We've got a job to do. If you weren't getting paid and you weren't on a team, you can race whatever race you want, but we're paying you, so this is how it's going to be. We need your ass to stay healthy. And this is no longer the times of, or at least the era of McGrath and Carmichael and Stewart, where they could just sort of show up and wax everybody with riding at 80%. It's not how it is anymore. You've got some really talented guys, 5 or so, that could win at any given time. It's like we all see that dude that all he does is win.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough.
Johnny made up for making that chair disappear. That was good. That was good. Thank you.
Oh, jeez.
Thank you, sir. But you got that guy out there at the local track that no matter what, he just wins on the weekend. It just seems like he just waxes everybody. It's not like that anymore. And because we have so many front runners like Cooper Webb, Anderson, you got Eli, you got Roczen, you got Marvin, a lot of these guys could win. So at the Monster Million, your chances of winning the 3 straight in a row are definitely lower because of how good the field is. So these guys are going to probably pass because they say, it's not worth $100 grand of winning the overall because I make $100 grand, 150, maybe even 200 grand from a bonus from winning a Supercross race. Yes, you heard me. These guys, the top guys, all right, the top dudes on each factory team, it's built into their contract that they win anywhere between $100,000 to $200,000 a race win just from bonus. So just $100 grand from one-off race isn't worth it. They can make more money at their actual season where it counts more because, you know, they win the championship, they're going to get like a $1 to $2 million bonus and then also a bonus for their contract for next year. There's a lot more at stake for these elite top 1% of 1% riders in Supercross. And another reason is just confidence. Motorcycle racing is so mental because you're the only one out there. Yes, you have a team behind you, but it's not like the stick and ball sports where you actually have a team that, like, if you're having an off day, well, your receiver or whoever it is can sort of transfer the weight as far as if you're slacking. God, I don't know much more on ball sports, so, you know, be gentle in the comments below because I'm an idiot. You're just the one rider on the track, so it could easily, you start thinking negative, it's going to ruin your season, all right? You got guys that you think shouldn't be beating you, and they start beating you, you might start to go, oh God, what am I doing wrong? And blah, 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 woe's me. And then all of a sudden from almost winning races. Now you're having a hard time getting out of the heat race into the main event. Motorcycle racing is very, very taxing mentally. So these guys choose not to race these one-off races because they don't want to have it negatively affect their season. And why is it so hard for these guys to get their first win? Well, it's like that. It's almost like an illusion of a mountain. You know, the closer and closer you get, you just can never quite reach it and get to the top. But then, once you do, prime example, Cooper Webb, you get that first W onto you, well then boom, here's another W, boom, here's another W, because something clicks in your head that says, you know what, I can do it. These guys are human, I can beat them, I'm better than them, I've done it before, why can't I do it again? I'm gonna do it again. The same goes for the opposite, sort of what I've already gone over, but just as an example, Ryan Dungey versus Jason Lawrence. I believe it was back in 2008. Dungey was a little kid. Lawrence, I think, was around the same age, 16, 17. Well, Jason did a really good job of kind of being a punk kid and getting inside Dungey's head and ended up having him lose the championship because...
No, the pressure's not on me. The pressure's on Dungey to try and catch back up now. He lost the points lead, so he needs to win this race to have a legitimate shot at the title, and I need to beat him to secure my title, you know, so this is...
I believe he had a hard time qualifying for one round, and then he just kept getting up, crashing, getting up, crashing, getting up, crashing, and then there was this whole thing with One Industry sponsored Dungey, and then the next weekend they sponsored Jason Lawrence, and then Dungey had a sissy fit about it, and he ended the contract and ended up going with Fox, which in hindsight was probably a better thing to do, but at the time it was, to the audience, it was totally about what Jason Lawrence was doing inside his head. So it's definitely a mental aspect as far as you got to have confidence in these races. So my last one is Feld and AMA are destroying this sport. Yes, the argument is we've never been more popular than we are now. I would have to agree with that, but to a certain point, you're going to stop having people show up to race because of the whole risk versus reward thing. We need to be taking care of our riders because I don't want to go to a supercross if I'm only going to watch 15 guys race, all right? I'd rather see 100 guys qualify and have some really good close racing, and if you've watched any of my stuff, I sort of suggest ways to change it and potentially make it better. But just doing a little bit of math, yes, I passed school, high school, you know, it was difficult, but I managed to pass, so I'm going to hit you with some mathematical equations.
Ooh.
Not really, but just listen to me. I saw statistics that Feld Motorsports had something close to 1 million people in attendance for the 17 rounds of Supercross. And if we just, and that's somewhere close to 58,000 to 55, 50, whatever, you know, just on average of spectators per race. And if we say ticket sales are $25 to $80, let's just go on the low end, let's say $25. Well, if we multiply that all together, each race, these guys are making 1.3, 1.4 million just in ticket sales. Yeah, they've got a lot of people they got to pay as far as to build the track and insurance and blah, 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 blah. But the riders are only getting like $86,000, $90,000 for the purse for a Supercross where first place makes 12 grand and then, you know, 40th place that barely makes the night show only makes $1,000. Like, that's ridiculous. We need to pay these riders 2-3 times more. Could you imagine what they would do for guys that, amazing riders that are like, you know what, I'm going to go to the Supercross this weekend because if I just get 40th, I'm going to make 3-4 grand. And we know that the top guys, I just told you that their $12,000 purse is nothing compared to their bonus of 100 to 200 grand. So there's something wrong here as far as the low riders get paid dirt and the top riders get paid a crap ton of money. Yes, I believe that's what they deserve to be paid because there's a level of risk here for this sport. You never hear things on a golf where this guy got a concussion and died or broke his back. I mean, even in football, it's rare to see somebody get as injured as your whole pelvis is exploded. So there's change that needs to happen, and I'd love to see it happen. And maybe my videos can start getting some sort of attention, and I can create some sort of, who knows what the future holds. But I get that question asked a lot as far as, why didn't everybody race the Monster Cup? Well, I just gave you 5 reasons why. Now it's up to you to decide if it's accurate or it's complete crap. Anyway, this is Johnny Hopper, the guy that the older he gets, the faster he was. No pun intended. Till next time. Didn't think I could do that long.